broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and coach. And I'm really excited to be here today because today is the day that we decide to move our business forward. No matter what is happening in the world, we can make that decision. We can do something different, take the next step, and continue to drive ourselves, our businesses, and our lives forward. I believe that as small businesses, we are the lifeblood of our communities. And when we link arms and we share what's working and maybe what's not, we're able to elevate our businesses. And the ripple effect impacts not only our lives and our businesses, but the lives of our teams, our families, and our communities. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our two in-studio guests today, because we are going to be talking all things branding, marketing, getting noticed, and making sure you are able to grow your business. We're going to start today with Katrin Becker, Coaching with Kat, founder, entrepreneur, and new author. Welcome to the studio, Kat.
Thank you, Jen. I'm so happy to be here.
Tell me a little bit about what got you started. How did you, like the book is new. How did this come about? Like what brought that to your mind, and how are you able to impact lives through that?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny story. So it's been almost an exact year since I left the corporate world. I was in engineering and started to go out on my own and do coaching. And earlier in this year, when I was sitting down to set up my vision board, like what do I want to accomplish in 2022, the idea of writing a book just kept coming to me. And I thought, I'm an engineer. Engineers don't write books, or at least not any books that people want to read. So I was kind of like, I can't believe this thought's coming to me, but like, I'll still just put it on my vision board and just see what happens. And so I was able to, put that on there, started thinking about it, and someone had put a post on Facebook that had nothing to do with writing a book, but it grabbed my attention, and I commented, and the woman commented back, and then we started a relationship on Facebook Messenger, and that's when it came out that she's a publisher and that she was putting together a book, and I thought, oh my gosh, well, funny you should mention that. And so that's kind of how it went. So it was really about giving up control and just kind of going with the flow and seeing where it led me.
And the book is The Voyage and the Return, The Path to Self-Discovery. So what an amazing story to go along with the title of the book. It's all about the journey, and sometimes enjoying the journey is more important than any destination, correct?
Oh, 100%. I know for certain that the chapter that I ended up writing within this book would not have been the same chapter had I started writing it at a different time. So it was quite the evolution of going through this and realizing that just as my story tells that it wasn't about the trip that I actually took, it was about the journey getting there. It was the same process with writing the book. I think I sat down and wrote like 4 different stories before the one that was really resonating finally came to life and just jumped off the page when it was ready.
Fantastic. We'll get more on that in just a few moments, but I do want to introduce our other amazing guest. We also have in studio today Denzel Lovett. Denzel is a brand and image specialist. He's a photographer, and he owns Universal Photography and Studios. Denzel, welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. It's a pleasure being here. I'm really looking forward to the interview. I've heard a lot of good things about your show, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and you know what's coming. What was the inspiration behind your own studio, your own business, going into business for yourself, and also I know you to have an eye for imagery, and so tell me a little bit about how that works and how you're able to catch the essence of somebody's brand or their identity in the images that you are providing for them.
Well, Jen, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and as a teenager, my father introduced me to the craft photography over 25 years ago. So I've had a long-standing history of photography. I started in film. I still do shoot film, but most of my clients prefer digital. But on personal projects, I love film. I love how it looks, and as far as the imagery wise, I've been doing photography for a while, so I have a pretty good eye on what a client may need for a particular business, and to make sure that they look normal. You don't want to look outside of your comfort zone. So I pride myself in making sure that I have a good eye.
That's fantastic. And I would love to talk a little bit more about that, because so many times we hear brand and we hear brand image, and we know that it takes a lifetime to build a brand, and one wrong image or one wrong turn could actually destroy that brand. So how are you able to capture the essence of a brand in photos? Like, tell me a little bit about the process and how you're able to bring out that brand authenticity in the entrepreneurs.
Normally what I do, I will meet with the potential client just to get a feel on what things are important to him or her with regards to their business. And based on just speaking with them for a length of time and looking at previous work, I can pretty much come up with an idea that will make the platform look well. A brand is what you make it, and you have to put in the time and the effort in order to establish a good brand.
Absolutely. I couldn't concur more. So I'm really excited to have the two of you here, because one of the things that we know, a lot of people are reaching out to us and they're saying, the economy, there's a turmoil in the economy. How do I continue to go forward? Is this the right time to start a business? Is this the right time to grow a business? And of course, my answer is yes. When we have economic disruption, that creates opportunity. But it's so important that we position ourselves, that we have the credibility, the authority, that we make ourselves the expert in our space. And so I have a brand photographer who captures that essence and helps you to show your best light, and a published author, which the book actually enhances your credibility in your space of coaching. So I'd love to have a conversation about how you're able to leverage the right image, leverage the book in order to grow your credibility, your know, like, trust with your audience, so that you can create your own economy. So I think I'll start with you, Kat. Like, how are you able to position yourself now that you are a published author? Have you seen that impact? How are you able to leverage the written word in your business?
Well, it's a great question. I have the book here with me now. So it was one of those things that being able to add, international best-selling author to my CV, I think really helps when clients are looking and trying to decide who to work with. There's so many coaches that are out there, so it's a great differentiating piece. It's also been a great way to talk to other people on podcasts and to share more about what I do. And being able to use that as a branding tool is really helpful. It also helps to increase my visibility in the other countries where this book was a bestseller. So here in the United States, but also in Canada and Australia. So it just helps to bring that visibility and credibility to those audiences that I wouldn't have automatically had that ability to reach out to.
That's really fantastic. And I'd like to dive a little bit deeper in that, because, I also am an international bestselling author, and I'll tell you, when I said yes, go ahead and publish the book, it has some very personal stories in it, in addition to like the process for setting boundaries. And I had the moment when I was like, what did I do? Like, can I just take it back? Because so many people have access. Once it's published, you can't like put that genie back in the bottle. So tell me, when you first got to that point where you're like, press go, it's actually real, people are actually reading this who I don't even know. Like, talk to me a little bit about how that emotional process went for you and how you were able to direct that energy and grow.
Well, as I mentioned before, I had like 4 stories that I'd started to write ahead of time. And so I'd sit down and I'd start writing, and I just kept feeling all this resistance, coming up with obstacles. And the book was due, which I thought was due on Monday, and it was actually due the Wednesday before. So the publisher reached out to me and was like, where's your work? We need it. So that night I went to bed and my head was kind of spinning, and I woke up at 3:30 in the morning and it was there. And so I, got up, snuck through the house, got into my office, closed the door, opened up the laptop, and it just flowed out. I was able to get like 5,000 words down in a couple of hours. And after reading it, I felt so good with the story that I was telling. And it was the story that I was meant to be telling before I was too much in my head, that I was just so excited to be able to share it and that it was out here and to put it in a different way. So in my part of the book specifically, I wanted to bring in all sorts of different elements. So I have QR codes that go to a song that you can listen to while you're reading it, because it's something that was monumental in the story. I also read the story out loud and put that in a QR code so someone could listen to it, because I happen to be more of an audible girl than I am a written person, just, busy mom and working and doing all those things. So that's what worked for me. So being able to bring in those elements, I just felt so proud and excited to share it with my audience in different ways.
That's fantastic and great thinking too, because a QR code, of course, it pings you, it helps you with your visibility, with your SEO and all the things if it's on your website and it directs you there. So that was actually really a brilliant move, especially in the coaching space. So now I want to talk to you, Denzel, about the image piece of this. Like when you're sitting down and we'll talk about your brand, for example, how were you able to devise what your image is going to be for your brand, for your business, so that you know that people see authentically who you are, what it is that you can do, and you can bring all of your skill sets to the forefront so that when people encounter you, they're like, yes, I know who you are and I want to work with you?
Well, first of all, we're in a digital age. Everything is pretty much recorded digitally. With regards to websites and Instagram and LinkedIn, to be viable, you have to have a professional image for persons to take you seriously. At the drop of a dime, you can get a bad image, and that could pretty much sacrifice or throw a monkey wrench in your business. So it really depends on the person, the type of business, and the work ethic. I applaud myself on being proficient. I'm a professional. I love what I do, and I love people. So that makes it easier for me to come up with a concept based on my clients or customers' preconceived notions on what his or her business needs to be.
That's really, really fantastic. And something I really have been curious about myself, and I know we've had a couple conversations. I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but you're an artist. As a photographer, you're an artist. And a lot of times, people who are very artistic and creative have a hard time with the business side of business. So how are you able to marry that creative artistry and that side of you with the day-to-day, looking at the numbers, doing the things that we need to do on the more left brain side of the spectrum, the more analytical side of the spectrum? How are you able to combine both of those in your skills so that you could grow your business to where you are today?
That's an absolute great question. As a creative, I do struggle with that part because photography, the craft comes to me naturally. So I have to go. You overheard the notion of you don't know what you don't know. So when it comes to business, I take a lot of courses, a lot of CEUs to make sure that I'm following the business acumen, to make sure that I'm doing what's necessary, to make sure that I'm profitable, and to make sure that I'm successful. So I put in a lot of effort, a lot of extra work, a lot of burning the candle at both ends. Sometimes I'm up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, making sure I'm going over business acumen to make sure that my business runs successfully. So I take a lot of time in the aspect as far as making sure that I'm aware of the current ideas and different techniques when it comes to business. Like I said before, I've taken quite a few business courses. I usually would take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week, just to make sure, well, actually a day, just to make sure that my business acumen is where it needs to be.
That's really fantastic. I love that you said that, because something that we talk about a lot on this show, and my viewers know this, if we're not learning, we're dying. And business is continually evolving, just like your art form, right? Photography has evolved a lot in the last 20 years with the digital age and all the things that are happening. So it's so important that we're always feeding our mind and learning and growing so that we stay real and relevant. And so I'm going to ask both of you, because Kat, you are now a published author, but you're also in the coaching space. And then you, Denzel, because you're in photography. How has your business changed or evolved in the last 12 months? And how is it continuing to evolve? Because now we're seeing economic challenges we haven't seen in a really long time. So talk to me a little bit about how you're able to stay adaptable and viable as the business climate kind of adapts around us. And let's start with you, Kat.
That is a great question. It's been quite the last 12 months for sure, quite the evolution. But I love what Denzel was saying about always growing and always learning. You have to have your CEUs putting in your reps to learn what's going on, what are the trends, how can you be on top of it, and having coaches. investing in coaches has been a huge part of that, because then you don't have to have it all figured out yourself. You have a sounding board, you have masterminds that you can tap into. And so that's really been a big part of my growth, of listening into who are those other people, who are those voices that can give me the information and the knowledge and the inspiration to keep moving forward and to keep growing so that I can serve others.
How about you, Denzel? How are you able to navigate and adapt this?
Well, the last 12 months for my business has been pretty good. Even though we're dealing with COVID, my business has actually increased anywhere from 25 to 35%. What I've done, I've made sure that I focus on details. I make sure that on a weekly basis, I set goals, I chart them, and I make sure that I reach them. And if I don't reach them, I make sure that I continue to move forward to try and make sure that I'm a little bit better this week than I was last week. So within the last 12 months, my business has seen some significant changes.
And I think that's the nature of the beast. And I think one of the things that I really like to talk about in this show is like what happens behind the scenes, because the Instagram life shows the success and the top, but there's so much that goes into it. And you touched on it earlier when you talked about your work ethic and staying up sometimes long hours. Entrepreneurs, we work long hours, we stay up late, we get up early, and we do whatever it takes to make sure that we are continuing to be successful. And I've heard that in both of you are continuing to learn and grow. You're using coaches and mentors, and you're doing the things to make sure you're adaptable and able to thrive. And so talk to me a little bit about on the days when it's tough, because the reality is, the truth behind the business is there are some bad days.
Yes,
Sometimes there's more bad days than good days in a week. How do you pick yourself up? What is it that you draw on so that you can elevate your energy and make sure you continue to move forward?
As an entrepreneur, if you don't go to work, you don't get paid. So a lot of times that means that, if you stay up late, you got to get up early, but you know that you have a task that has to be completed, and you only have a certain amount of time to do it. You're not on payroll. You don't get vacation time. You own your own business, so that makes you that much more invested in what you do. So being an entrepreneur, it's good, because people say, well, you don't have anybody to answer to. Yeah, you don't. But like I said before, if you don't get up out the bed and get to that table or get to that desk and do work, you're not going to be successful, and you're definitely not going to earn any income to take care of your family.
Kat, how about you? Weigh in on this.
I love what you're saying, Denzel. It's so true. We are responsible for our own destiny. And so whenever there is a bad day, I know that I am 100% responsible either way, whether it's a good day or a bad day. And so it's acknowledging okay, tomorrow can be better. I'm responsible for making my tomorrow better for myself. And then also to keep focused on the mission. Why am I doing this? What is my why? Who am I looking to serve? I know my clients are having bad days. That's why they need me. So being able to focus on them and taking them in mind really helps me to stay motivated and to show up for them.
It's really fantastic. I love that you're purpose-focused and client-focused, because I think that's why we go into business. We are entrepreneurs because we like to solve problems, and the only way we can do that is if we show up. So I really like that you both touched on that. And if you're watching this at home, it does take work to be in business. Yeah, you might see the fun things. Maybe we have location freedom and we can work wherever we want. But we're working. And so it takes a lot behind the scenes to get to what you see on the front. We do have to take a brief break, but we'll be back in just a few moments.
Some lenders fit all their clients into one box, the one that makes them the most money.
Some realtors push all their clients toward the same house, the one that is paying an extra bonus to the selling agent.
Some lenders promise the world but don't deliver results, potentially leaving the clients homeless.
Some realtors don't have the patience for first-time homebuyers or sellers, and it shows.
Hi, I'm David Floyd, realtor with eXp, and I've worked with many lenders and could write a book full of the horror stories.
Hi, I'm Joanne Cooper, loan officer with First Nationwide Mortgage, and I've worked with many realtors, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You would be amazed at what can go wrong without the right person on your team.
When it comes to referring my clients to a lender who will work hard to get them what they need and to the closing table on time, it's always Joanne Cooper.
When it comes to knowing my clients are being taken care of by their realtor and will end up with the perfect home, I have full confidence in David Floyd delivering every time. Together, our clients receive the service they fully deserve, plus have access to our other preferred service providers for even more value.
Your best position in buying today is being pre-qualified, so call us today.
Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I'm Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, investor, and coach. And I'm joining you today with two amazing guests in studios. If you are just tuning in, you're going to want to catch the first part of this show by going to nowmedia.tv and selecting the show, because we have been talking about branding, the importance of brand image, how to establish credibility in our marketplace so we can create our own economy no matter what's happening in the overall economy. And so I'm really excited to continue that conversation. And so I'm going to just dive right in. Before the break, we were talking about how do we pick ourselves up, because entrepreneurship can be challenging. And when the economic news keeps coming out and things are going bad and prices are up, it can really be a downer on us. And so we were talking about ways to pick ourselves up no matter what. And what we came up with before the break was, number one, dial into your purpose. Number two, show up for your clients. Focus on your clients, focus on their results, and that will give you the energy that you need. And of course, your why might be your family, it might be your team, it might be your clients, or it might be something greater. But dig into that so that you can go and make today your best day. So let's continue the conversation. And I want to turn it a little bit, because we talk a lot about entrepreneurship. We've talked about work ethic, and sometimes it's long days and late nights. How are you both able to manage your health and your life and your families around your business? How are you able to make sure you get every one of your priorities met in your day? And I think I'm going to start with you, Denzel.
Well, this goes back to college for me. I've always functioned off a little sleep. So if I can get anywhere from 4 hours or 4.5 hours to 5 hours of sleep, I'm usually pretty good. And I'm a habitual coffee drinker. So I just make sure that I spend time with my family, my children, my wife, and I make sure that I spend some time alone to myself to make sure I'm meditating, making sure that I'm eating right, and being consistent with my weight training to make sure that I'm healthy. Because as an entrepreneur, you do burn the candle at both ends. Sometimes I'm up 15 hours straight working on a project that has to be done tomorrow. So I just make sure that I'm focused on that and actually being driven. I'm task driven, so if there's an issue or whatnot that I haven't completed, I don't stop until the task is done. And a lot of time that does wear me down, because I won't put down the task until I know that it's completed.
Finish what you start. I really like that. So that's what we hear today. Finish what you start. Make sure that you drive your task to completion. Something that I do, I go ahead and schedule in my meals. I noticed when I started, I really love business. And so if I don't put my lunch as a non-negotiable appointment in my calendar, I forget to eat lunch because I'm so into what I'm doing. And that's something that is a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs. So scheduling in your family time, scheduling in your self-care, like Denzel was saying, his workout, that's very critical. If you're not putting that as an appointment in your calendar, it can go by the wayside. And if we don't have our health, our business is going to suffer. If we're not there, or we get ill, or we're knocked out, we can't grow our business, and everyone is impacted by that. So it's so important. Thank you for sharing. Kat, how about you?
Well, I think for me that it was kind of a realization moving from the corporate side into entrepreneurship. You know, I didn't have to be responsible for all these other things that were happening. And you had your 8 hours or 9 hours, whatever, you were in, you were out, and that was kind of it. So it was a big mentality shift of how to look for that and reschedule things so that it made more sense for me and for my life. I mean, I've got 2 small kids. I live on a farm, so there's animals to take care of and other hobbies to do. So it definitely was a struggle for me to get to that point. But when I started looking at all the activities that I were doing that were kind of just nothing activities, right? Like having little games on your phone or scrolling through social media or binge watching TV shows that aren't really moving me forward. When I started adding up all of that time, it was like, wow, I could really be directing this into other ways. And I also make sure that I am multitasking. So like when I'm making dinner for my family and myself, I've got a podcast in. I started swimming, which is exercise and meditation for me. So combining those kind of things so that they're happening and getting done has really been successful for me.
I really like that you mentioned that, the blending together of things. I've found that for me, my social life, really as an entrepreneur, sometimes we don't have the best social life because our friends don't understand, when business needs to get done, it needs to get done. And maybe I'm traveling for business. And so I've blended as well. But what I've found is I've blended to where my friends are entrepreneurs and business partners of mine. So we'll go to a place, we'll do business, but then we'll play together too. So you're getting that respite in. So I really like that you brought up the blend, like the swimming and meditation, the podcast while you're cooking dinner. Like, I think that high level individuals and entrepreneurs are all top 5%ers, right? We can't be an entrepreneur if we're not at the top of our game. But I think that multitasking facet and that combining our priorities to make sure we get it in, I think that's something that is very critical for us in our business and our life. So thank you for sharing. And so talk to me a little bit more about when you are in the zone and you're doing what's your best, your 4% that gets the biggest bang for their buck. How do you get into the zone? And when you fall out of the zone, how do you redirect and get back there? Because that's something that a lot of people ask about. I'll start with you, Kat.
That's a great question. So, time as we measure it is not actually linear. Like, we can feel it in different ways where time expands and we get so much done and we're like, oh my gosh, how did we get all of this done in this amount of time? So I think like when you're in this, that's when I know I'm in the zone. Like when I can just sit down and it just pours out. So for me, like I can't have it as structured with the scheduling, because if I have something on my schedule that I'm supposed to be doing, but the inspiration isn't there behind it, I'm not in the zone, and I can know that and feel that. So I have more of like, this is my priority to get done for the week, and just know that's kind of, this is the order of the priority, and then being able to be flexible and go with the flow when I need to, so that I can hit that zone and stay in that zone more than if I being too regimented. Just not my style for that.
How about you, Denzel? How do you get into the zone? And then when you fall out of the zone, how do you get yourself back in?
Well, for me, it usually starts on Sunday, because that's the day that I take to list all my goals, list all my reminders, and make sure that I hold myself accountable for the next week. And what that entails, that entails going through my phone, setting reminders and notes to make sure. And this is usually done on an hour-by-hour basis to make sure that I hold myself accountable. And once I do that, and I can go down that list and actually check those tasks off, that lets me know that I'm in my zone. I don't like to be off of my schedule. I pride myself on making sure that if I'm not on my schedule, I'm close by. So again, for me, writing things down and putting notes in my phone is the best way to make sure that I keep up with what I need to do for my day-to-day basis and for my weekly basis.
I totally understand, and I get it. I have heard two ends of the spectrum, and everybody is individual in how they do this. So if you're listening at home and you're like, yes, I need a rigid schedule, or you're like, oh, the schedule is going to take me out of the zone. How do I make sure I'm able to keep my flow? You just heard two ends of the spectrum. You heard techniques that each of them do so that they can get there. So ask yourself, where do I fit in that spectrum, and what is going to be my best thing so that I can make sure I stay in the zone? Or if you have like I call it a pregame. I have a pregame warm-up. Like today, I'll give you a perfect example. My car was broken into today while I was at the grocery, and I knew it was going to set me back, and I was kind of frazzled, but I knew I had to show up here for you and for my guests. And so I had to get back in the game. So I called in my friend who is also a coach, and she talked me through it, and we drove over here together so that we could get into the zone and get rid of all the stuff that was distracting me. And so have a couple of tricks up your sleeves so that you can do that. And both of you, Denzel, you mentioned accountability, and Kat, earlier you mentioned coaches. How important is your circle and your community? How important are the people that you're spending time with so that you can stay in the zone and you can stay productive and you can continue to grow in your business?
So important. Definitely so important. I mean, I think they've said forever that, the top 5 people that you're around the most, that's who you're really learning from and growing from, and making sure that that's having it there. My best friend and business partner doesn't live in the town that I do. She lives 4 hours away. So we use Marco Polo a lot, which is it's like FaceTime, only you're leaving video messages so that we can go back and forth when it works for us. So when either one of us is having a hard time or not being able to go through something, we know that we can put that out there, and then the other one can help respond and get through it when it works for them. So it helps us set some safe boundaries, as well as getting the emotion out and being able to tap back in when we need to.
I like it. The asynchronous video, that's a really good tool to use. And there's a bunch of different tools out there like Marco Polo. I've actually used that before too. So I like that. Asynchronous, so that when it's their time, they can check in and you're not having that distraction, but you're able to still support. How about you, Denzel? How important is having the right community, surrounding yourself by the right people to your growth?
It's absolutely necessary. What I've done, I don't watch TV. That's one thing that I pride myself on doing. I may watch the news or the weather for maybe a couple of minutes, but as far as watching TV syndicated shows or whatnot, I don't do that because that wastes time. I mean, that time can be spent reading a book or trying to educate myself. So making sure that I'm around the right people is absolutely key. I have a lot of friends of mine that are entrepreneurs, and from time to time we'll get on a video call and we'll just check with each other just to see how our day is going. But you really need to surround yourself with people who think like you, because if you do not do that, then you're really susceptible to making sure that you waste time. And one thing that you do, when you waste time, you can't get time back. And I'm an avid thinker, I'm an avid reader, so most of my time, if I'm not doing my actual work on my business, I'm actually doing some outside reading to make sure that I stay on top of my game, make sure that I'm keeping my mind refreshed.
I've got a lovely book for you to read.
I absolutely read it, because I'm an absolute abject reader. I love reading. It really doesn't matter what the subject is. I love reading because what it does, it refreshes my mind. So I'll take you up on that.
You got it.
Fantastic. I got one for you too. So we've talked about the importance of having the right people around us. I'm going to talk about something that's a little harder. And that's what happens when there's somebody in your circle, maybe your family, maybe a close friend, and they don't understand entrepreneurship. So they don't actually support, like they say they support you, but they want you to have success, but they don't want you to be more successful than them, if that makes any sense. Or they're, holding you back because they don't understand why you can't go to the bar and have a drink when you need to finish a project or whatnot. How do you set the boundary with the people, especially if it's family, because that's a really hard one? How do you set the boundary with the people that you're surrounded by blood or otherwise, that maybe are causing a challenge or anchoring you in some way? How are you able to do that? Kat, why don't you start?
It's such an important part, because that's when doubt creeps in, is when someone who's in your circle, especially family members, there's already so many things that you're doing that are maybe outside your comfort zone. So having that voice and letting that little seed of doubt grow is really, really detrimental. And so one of the things that's really worked for me is that I realize that their concerns are their fears, and I don't have to take them on, because I know and I'm clear and centered in what my purpose is and what I'm here to do. And I understand that they know that that's not what they can do. So it's just to say, listen and be like, yes, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but not taking it personally.
How about you, Denzel?
And for me, people who know me know that there's one thing that I do not play about. If I'm involved in a business procedure or a business event, I'm pretty much focused on that. And I can't stop and go to a bar or stop and go play pool until my task is finished, because being an entrepreneur, ultimately I'm held responsible for my business. And if things does not get done, then that's a bad mark on myself. And I owe it to my clients and to my customers to make sure that I put them first. And by doing that, I will put myself first.
Mm-hmm. And it's not selfish to put yourself first. It's so important. And a lot of times we hear this, and as a business coach, I hear this all the time. Well, I feel guilty if I put myself first. What if, something doesn't happen, or, somebody doesn't get what they need, or what have you. But if we're not putting ourselves first and we have an empty cup, we can't pour. And we can't be good for anyone if we haven't got a full cup that's overflowing. And so I really like that you said that. And so if we were to leave one takeaway for the people that are watching, our viewers, or listening to this here, if there was just one thing that they could do to set that boundary, or to even recognize the people who are holding them back, what would you say that would be, Kat?
It's really about tuning in to what your thoughts are. So when you have the thought of like, I'm not good enough, that's so personal and I-centric, and being able to step back and go, wow, I just thought I'm not good enough. And even further step back, go, I noticed that I just had the thought that I'm not good enough. Because then you're creating separation between yourself and the thought, and realizing that they're not intermeshed, that you can separate yourself and you can have control over what you're thinking instead of being influenced by outside sources, and say, is this true for me? And give yourself a choice instead of letting your subconscious rule.
I really like that. Step back, get the perspective. We do have to take a quick break, so we'll be back in just a few moments.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Gaudet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
Did you know your clients will decide to do business with you and your company within 15 seconds of browsing your website, your social media, and your digital footprint? In addition, your company's reviews will play a major role in client retention and future referrals. Hi, I'm Mike Moran with Digital Dimensions, a WSI agency. We use the latest digital marketing expertise, technology, tools to meet all your company's online marketing challenges. Digital Dimensions is your one-stop solution for social media and content marketing to website rankings and everything in between. Additionally, we have the know-how, knowledge of current trends, and effective SEO technologies, as well as cutting-edge tools to bring leads fast and effectively. Most importantly, we deliver innovative digital marketing strategies customized to your company's exact needs. Take a decisive step. Combine our powerful tools with your company's products and services and increase your revenue now.
If you are looking for someone who can provide stunning photography and videos and knows exactly what it takes to get your listing sold or boost your personal brand, Matt Pierce Photography is your solution. My focus is on helping you make the very best first impression that you possibly can. We help you use images and videos effectively in your brand and marketing design to tell your story. Give your corporate image the presence it deserves. Your headshot and your branding is your first impression with clients and business partners. What message are you sending? At Matt Pierce Photography, we believe that pictures and video make information easier to remember, so it makes your message stick. With clean, sleek, simple, and powerful, well-edited images and videos will make you stand out from the crowd. Get your products or listings sold quicker and establishing you as an expert, attracting new clientele. We also offer an array of other products and services such as video walkthroughs, property and agent commercial videos, and a full-service video production house to help bring your story to life. See, when you grow, we grow. So let's grow together. Matt Pierce Photography is your solution for your real estate, corporate, branding, or marketing photography and video needs. Take a decisive step on growing your image and telling your brand story. Call me today for a free consultation.
Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. Jen Gaudet here, your fearless host. And if you are just tuning in, you're going to want to catch the last two segments. We talked about amazing things. We talked about how to create your own economy, how to really set yourself apart in your brand, how to be recognized and authentic in your brand imagery, and how to establish credibility. But we also talked about how to pick yourself up if you're having a low day and all kinds of other things along the way. But now I really want to dive into action steps, because I'm a coach, and if you didn't have something that you could take away today, then what are we doing here? Because knowledge is just a small little part of the equation, and the implementation is where the magic happens. So get ready, because we're going to have our guests share with you something that you could do for your brand or your credibility in your business, whether you're just starting out, and then also if you're looking to take it to the next level. So we'll start with the beginner business, or somebody who's moving from corporate into full-time business. What is the piece of advice that you would give them so that they can create their own economy, so they can establish their brand credibility and just get themselves to the next level? And I'll start with you, Denzel.
Well, first of all, you want to be consistent in making sure that you know the course that you set, and make sure that you follow that. Be accountable to yourself, and if you can't do that, let somebody know what you're trying to do, and allow them to make you allow that to be accountable. But you want to make sure that you're focused on your ideas, and you have a clear vision on where you want to go, and make sure that you educate yourself. A lot of times people come up with ideas and whatnot that hasn't been researched, but when you're dealing with a business and you're charging a nominal fee to someone, you owe it to them to make sure that you know what you're doing. So make sure that you educate yourself.
Those are such good points. I would just add to that especially when you're making that transition, it's a completely different mind shift change that you need to make, because you're assuming that you're going into business doing something that you love. You probably don't have the skill set to do all the other tasks that need to happen in business. You need a branding and marketing expert. You need these other people to bring these pieces of, so that you can do what you love and bring that to people who you want to serve by still maintaining these other things that you may not have had experience with.
Great. So I heard hire the people who are experts in the space to make sure that you get to do what you love. I absolutely love that. I also heard educate yourself, make sure that you continue to learn and grow so you're at the top of your business. So the education, if that's where you are and you're just launching, educate yourself not just on your craft. Don't just be the best at what you do in the product or service, but also educate yourself on the business acumen. And that's why we have business coaches and strategists. We have masterminds. We have communities that do that. If you're looking for that, I am a resource for you. Feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, you end up spending a lot of time and money trying to recreate a wheel when you could actually get in the fast track. Hire the people, the marketing specialist, the branding specialist, the right photographer, the right coach, the right mentor, and actually get to where you're going faster. So now let's talk about the business owners or the business that already kind of established and they're wanting to get to the next level. They're stable, but they want to hit scale. So talk to me a little bit about that, and I'm going to start with you, Kat.
That's a great question, because there's a Paul Simon song of one man's floor is another man's ceiling. And so when you're trying to reach up and get to that next level, I think that's so much about mindset, because ostensibly you already have the skills in place to scale, but it's the belief. Can you believe in yourself that you are worthy to make that? You know, we kind of get this money sort of set point that we're comfortable with, and then to get to that next level of being able to receive that and making sure that that's in alignment with who you are can be quite a hard step. So working on the mindset piece, I think, for that next level is probably the best place to start.
Absolutely. And, you know, something that we talk about here a lot, Kat, is that, you know, to get your first 6 figures in business is one strategy, one mindset. To get to multiple 6 is another. To get to the million mark is another. To get to the 10 million mark is another. So each time we want to elevate, it requires a different strategy. It requires different tactics. It requires a different mindset. So thank you so much for sharing that. Denzel, how about you? What is an action that an existing business can take that can elevate their brand awareness, elevate their sales and their presence so that they can get to that next level?
Well, the first thing that you want to do if you move from a low level to a high level, you want to make sure that you actually hire someone to make sure that you're being held accountable. Because a lot of times we will wiggle out of room, we'll find ways to say, well, I'll do this later. But if you're paying somebody to make sure that they hold you accountable, they're going to set the bar high. So that means that you make sure that you will have to continue to work hard and be efficient in making sure that you make those goals. And with regards to moving from one tier to the next tier, with regards to the age of media and video, having professional done images, if you're on a website or LinkedIn page, any type of form of media makes your business more viable, more visual, because people look at your website, your Instagram page, your LinkedIn page, and you only have a few seconds to capture someone's imagination. Most times, if that image is not the best image, a lot of times the person who's on your website or on your media page will move on to the next page because you haven't captured that attention. So making sure that you have professional images with regards to branding is an absolute must.
Absolutely. And, you know, you said something, and it really struck this in me, Denzel. When you said that having the right image is so important, people are looking for a reason not to do business with us. They're inundated with stuff, so don't give them that reason. Right. Have the professional imagery. And before, maybe it was in the break, we were talking about when we see selfies as profile pictures on LinkedIn, for example. LinkedIn is a professional social media platform. So if you're not presenting in that tone, you have to match the tone of the social media. Right? I like to say that LinkedIn's kind of like business dressy, Facebook's business casual, Instagram's like casual Friday, right? We have to make sure that our brand authenticity is captured in all of those ways. So Denzel, how are you able to capture those kind of different aspects and yet still maintain the brand integrity?
Well, it basically boils down to the type of business the individual is running. If it's a business to where you are a business professional, with regards to LinkedIn, every picture in LinkedIn, it needs to be suit and tie. I mean, because you're portraying a professional image. It doesn't need to be a selfie or T-shirts and jeans. If you're a professional and you're vying for a professional business, then you need to set yourself apart, which means that you got to do something that the other person is not doing. So making sure that your website is up to par, making sure that all of your media platforms are synced together, and being consistent. Consistency is very important when it comes to branding.
I love it. Brand consistency is key, because in the digital world, right, consistency is trust. Right. When we break that consistency, we break that trust. And in order for us to have a relationship with potential clients and move them further along so they become clients or customers of ours, we have to have trust, and we have to have that consistency, because that's all they have to go by if they haven't had a conversation with us or met us personally. So, Kat, how about you? What is your intake on this?
Well, I completely agree about, making sure that that's that personal touch. I know for me as a coach, and being able to, people tell me a lot of very personal things in the life coaching space and helping them to release a lot of their triggers. So I've put a lot of content up on YouTube so that people can see who I am, as a way to, is this a person they want to work with? And so I've had many people reach out through my YouTube channel because they've seen what I'm doing. They can get a feel for who I am, and I can be consistent in my brand that way, and how I'm showing up and how I'm serving people. Even if they never work with me, it's still me giving back to them in a way that can help them.
You know, and what comes to my mind right there is you're adding value. You're adding that value, and when we do market it and we are content marketing, it only increases our brand credibility and the brand trust when they're able to see us and they're seeing the value that you're bringing. So thank you for offering that to everyone and having that as a resource. Would you guys mind sharing with our viewers and our listeners, how can they reach you if they want to learn more either about your industry or about business in general and entrepreneurship? How can they reach you, Kat?
My website is coachwithkat.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. But to learn more about the industry, after writing this book, I've kind of gotten the writing bug a little bit. So I am writing another book that is specifically for coaches and how I can help shine a light for other coaches in different industries and different niches. So that will be coming out later this year.
Fantastic. And Denzel, how about you? How can people reach out to you?
Well, my website is www.upstudio.photoshelter.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as well as Facebook and Instagram, Denzel Lovett. My handle is upstudio20 for Facebook and up20 lowercase dash photo for Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your expertise. And you, yes, you, I am talking to you, my listeners, my viewers. If you have feedback, I would love to hear it. Reach out to me. My email is jengaudet@jengaudetcoaching.com. You can hit me up on my website or on all my socials. I love feedback, and I'm bringing guests based off of what the questions you are bringing to me so that we can continue to deliver what you want to hear and move you forward. And before we go, remember, you have to take action. So I encourage you, I challenge you to take one thing you heard today, whether it's to add a little bit of structure to your schedule, add an accountability partner, hire a coach, do something to educate yourself in your business acumen. Choose one action and put it into action right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now, today. So we can move forward and we can actually find ourselves in a little bit of better place tomorrow than we did today. And of course, all good things come to an end, unfortunately, but you can still catch me same time, same station next week. But until then, go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next Monday.
This has been a Now Media television feature presentation. All rights reserved.